Good morning, Sweden.
Hello.
Hello, Olaf. How are you today?
It's not so good today.
Oh no, what's wrong, Olaf?
I had some flash pain in the lower back, the right side.
Wow.
Yes, I could hardly walk 10 meters
Oh,
yesterday. Same today, almost.
have you been to the doctor?
No, no.
I'd recommend that. I really would.
Usually they don't do so much. They just look
Really?
at me. Yeah, they can't do anything.
Huh.
They recommend exercise, but I already do this. So
Well, if your back is really, really sore and you can't walk 10 paces, then you need to get some help. You know,
yes.
that sounds like an acute situation. It does not sound like a chronic situation.
No.
Clearly, I'm not a doctor, but I play one on TV.
Yes, it get more bad if I not sleep, I think.
Yes, always.
Yes.
Um, uh, the last time my back seriously went out, I was laid up for the better part of a week. During the day, I took massive amounts of ibuprofen. I have a prescription for 800 milligrams a pop. And at night, I took a muscle relaxer, and it really, really helped. It still took me the better part of a week to get back on my feet. It was really tough. So I don't envy you. If and any part of tonight's practice, Olaf, if you're in too much pain and you need to practice on your back, or you need just go to bed, I will completely understand, and I promise not to judge you at all.
I think we'll manage. I just been out for a walk.
Oh,
Yes.
fantastic. Fantastic. I'm happy to hear that.
Yes.
Now, I'm really lucked out because my partner is a master RN. So I've got like the best medical advice that love can buy. Okay. Pat is going to be participating in midweek webinars on the Tuesday midweek webinar. So it's just you and me, Olaf. It's just the boy. And you're going to get all the personal attention that you deserve. And what we're going to do is use through the cunning use of pop quizzes, we're going to explore what you do know and don't know, not for the purpose of making you feel bad, but for the purpose of benefiting you. Because you've been putting in time every day and every week coming to class, you deserve to make some progress. And I really feel like that's my responsibility to you to help you with that. Having said that, let's go into screen sharing mode. And I hope you enjoy my new desktop. Keep calm and Tadi Tam Soha. I'm not geeky. I am geeky, but I did not invent that. Someone else created that, and I merely stole it. I thought it would be fun this week to begin with 3 repetitions of the 7-line prayer. Let's use the triple. Let's see, please, let's see, allow me to adjust something right quick. There we go. So we're going to use the triplet chant. Hung on the northwest border of the country of Orgian, the pollen heart of the lotus, you attain marvelous, most excellent CD. Renowned as the lotus, born you are surrounded by a circle of many sky dancers. As I practice following in your footsteps, I pray that you approach to confer your blessings, Guru Pamasidi Hu. Let's do that 2 more times. Hung on the northwest border of the country of Oregon, in the pollen heart of a lotus, you attain marvelous, most excellent CD. renowned as the lotus, born you all surrounded by a circle of many sky dancers. As I practice following in your footsteps, I pray that you approach to confer your blessings, Guru Brahma Siddhi Hum. Last repetition. This time, let's use the bookend chant. Hung on the northwest border of the country of Oregon, in the pollen order of a lotus, you attain marvelous, most excellent city. Renowned as a lotus born, you are surrounded by a circle of many sky dancers. As I practice following in your footsteps, I pray that you approach to confer your blessings, Guru Brahma Siddhi Hum. All right. So, Olaf, have you any questions about this ancient prayer of the Nyingma sect of Tibetan Buddhism?
Not right now.
Okay, so let's begin with a pop quiz. To whom is this prayer addressing?
I should say everyone who practiced Buddhist meditation.
Well, that's a good guess, but it's not quite accurate. Here's a hint. Do you recognize this image at the bottom of the screen?
Yes, I can't remember the name.
Okay, here's a hint. His name begins with this two syllables, Padma.
Padmasambhava.
Sambhava.
Yes.
The tantric adept who is very largely responsible for bringing tantric Buddhism to Tibet. Okay, so I'm going to close this text, most likely to your relief. So in the notes, I'm actually going to jot that down so that you can...
I have a question.
Okay, before we do, so I'm going to jot down the answers to the pop quizzes in today's notes so you can study it during the week, and you'll be able to download the text sometime from the website within the next 24 hours. So quickly allow me to write this down. Okay, Olaf, what is your question?
What does a sky dancer mean?
That is an excellent question. You know, if I was a wise ass, I would tell you it's, someone who flies a jumbo jet while dancing. But that would be really incorrect. So sky dancer can be a translation of the Sanskrit word dakini, or dakini, which is female, or daka, which is male. But wait, there's more. In Tibetan, the same words would be Now, my Tibetan grammar isn't perfect, but there's khandro is asexual. So to sexualize it, khandropa would be, oopsie, male, and khandromo would be female, but truthfully, that's questionable. So the most frequently used Tibetan translation from the Sanskrit is khandro. Literally, it means, although let me start a new line here. Although literally it can't translate as sky dancer. Okay, so although literally it can't translate as sky dancer, figuratively it can mean tantric partner, real or imagined, or tantric adept. So, for instance, if a single person is practicing channels, winds, and drops, like we do in the 14th class, and they're working with either their sex tip or their sex root in conjunction with their central channel and eventually their crown point. Ouch, that was my elbow. If they're doing that, they can do it asexually, or they can do it with the help of an imagined tantric partner or a real tantric partner. For instance, if someone is making love and giving and receiving sexual pleasure, they can simply notice precisely where they feel the pleasure on the in-breath and relax into the non-graspability of that phenomenon in the out-breath. And that is an advanced Mahamudra training. So does that answer your question?
Yes.
Good. I need to adjust the notes for a second. Let's go over here. So once again, please make the most of these notes and download them sometime within the next 24 hours from the website.
Okay, you don't send them with email, no?
Well, I could, but I'm trying to get out of the habit.
Okay.
Because right now I have a very small number of students, but as that number of students grows, doing email blasts will become less and less and less practical. I'm trying to remove all the subtle energetic resistance to having more students. So by having the students go to the website and download it, it takes the burden off my shoulders, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Good. And that way, who's ever watching this video, whoever stumbles across this video, will have the opportunity to download it as well, provided they're accessing it within the next 7 days or 7 months. Having said that, okay. Have you any other questions for me, Mr. Wallen?
Not right now.
Not right now. Judicious answer. Okay. Going to minimize the notes. We're going to go straight to the primary text for the day's class, which is going to be the standard go-to 12th lesson. It comes from the Red Tortoise Cycle of Teachings. And its focus is great completion. Yes, you can play with channels, winds, and drops. Nothing wrong with that. It really is not necessary. Arguably, it can even be a distraction. Okay, so Olaf, who is this fine-looking woman right here?
I should say Red Tara.
Yes, well done. What can you tell me about Red Tata?
She's mentioned a lot. I don't really know so much.
Okay, very good.
I know some text and stuff. We sing praise.
Okay, that's a very honest answer. I applaud your humility. Thank you for not trying to deceive me or fib or bullshit or use malarkey. I'm not sure. When someone's lying to you, when one of your friends is trying to tell you something which isn't true, do you call they're your friend, so they're not you don't have to address them formally. In Sweden, is there a phrase you use to describe someone's statement which really is just fabricated? Like for instance, what? Oh, bullshit!
Yes, skitsnack.
The international phenomena. Okay, good to know. Thank you.
In Swedish, it's called skitsnack.
What was that?
Skitsnack.
The first syllable?
Skit. Shit. Shit.
Oh, shreet with an R?
Shreet.
Shreet?
Shreet, yes.
Oh, Crete?
Shreet, snack.
Oh my goodness, I'm going to lose my mind trying to learn Swedish. Maybe any decade now, I'll learn how to cuss in Swedish. But probably not today. So let's take a moment and look back at the notes. Who is Red Tata? Oopsie, there we go. Who or what is Red Tata? Tata can be translated as heroine or rescuer. As I've mentioned before, from the rational perspective, she could be a real female Buddha, or merely an empowering archetype. Let's explore the second of the two. If she is an empowering archetype, then there are at least 8 ways, if not 9, at least 9 ways that her example can benefit us. Let's start with the conventional or the mundane benefits. There should be 5 of these. She helps us to, so her example, she can serve as an example of a loving mind, skillful speech, healthy body, and ideal circumstance. it's when I first began the Buddhist path, I was greedy for good fortune, and that really undermined my progress on the path. As I matured on the path, I came to understand that the purpose of these 4 mundane empowerments is to benefit others. And so that's why in the text we focus on giving a loving mind to our neighbors and fellow earthlings and all beings of the universe or the multiverse, as well as giving a skillful speech, a healthy body, and ideal circumstances to all beings of the multiverse. Not necessarily literally, but to train our heart in intending these things. Now, in rational circles, a controversial benefit from working with Red Tata is just that the effects of the mantra can be quite conducive to our contemplative practice. And there is no way for me to scientifically verify that. I'm speaking purely subjectively, purely anecdotally from my own life. Some people are very energy sensitive. I'm one of them. It is both an inconvenience and a benefit. So I found that mantras can affect me dramatically, sometimes beneficially, sometimes harmfully. And this mantra I found to be quite beneficial, and so I share it with others. Now, these 5 benefits would fit under the mundane category. The remaining 4 benefits fit under the supra-mundane category. Oh goodness, how do I spell category? Categorie. Oh, okay. What was that, sweetie? A little too fast. C-A-T. Yes. E-G. Oh, E-G. O-R-Y. Thank you. All right. So in the supramundane category, the archetype, the example of Radhata helps us to viscerally realize the So, in a supramundane sense, the archetypical example of Radhata helps us to realize the non-graspability of our mind, communication, body, and circumstance. How? How does she help do this? Simple. Because we, in the in 2/3 of the exercises that we're going to be working with, we are looking at Red Tata symbolically. For instance, we look at her mind as being symbolized by a syllable comprised of light. You can see it, but you can't grasp it, like a reflection of the full moon upon calm water. You can see it, but you can't successfully grasp it. It can be argued that our brains evolved to think symbolically eons, or at least millennia, multiple millennia, before we had the capacity to think conceptually and then even lingually. And there are people who would even argued that language is in itself a form of symbolism. So since our brains have evolved to think symbolically, that every culture we have, in addition to literal statements, we have figurative statements. Some of those figurative statements are metaphors, and sometimes they're figurative light. They're similes. For instance, I'll give you 3 statements. First, a literal statement. John is tenacious. Okay, that's a literal statement. Now a simile. John is as tenacious as a terrier with a bone. We can visualize that, right? And now the metaphor. John is a terrier with a bone. Now, very few people are going to confuse a human named John with a quadruped that scratches fleas. But the metaphor can be very, very powerful. And it can speak to us in a very emotional and visceral way. Could that make sense?
Yes.
Excellent. So before I conclude the lecture portion of the class, have you any more questions for me?
I have a question.
Beautiful.
I often feel when I do meditation in the morning, for example, it feels like I forget the practice somehow, and I lay it on the side. Then I go on with life. It's like 2 separate parts.
Okay, so let me know if I'm understanding you correctly. What you're saying is maybe for the first hour or 2, you do your practice, and then at the end of the practice, you get up, you have breakfast, you go out and do your errands, and you kind of feel that that's 2 different Olafs, the meditating Olaf and the living life Olaf. Would that be correct?
Yes.
Well, Olaf, I've never felt that way. You're all by yourself. No, I'm just joking. Very, very common. In fact, Khyentse Rinpoche and many other Tibetan teachers describe the life as everything in your life fits into 2 categories: meditation session and meditation break. So the age-old question is, how do I bring the momentum that I generated in the meditation session into the meditation break? And as you recall, during the silence meditation, after doing the silence contemplation, we sometimes work with a 3-syllable mantra. Notice this, relaxing. And after maybe 9 or 14 rounds of that, we drop it down to the 1-syllable version, this, ease. And we coordinate this with the in-breath and ease with the out-breath. Now, it would be foolish to expect to be able to silently and mentally recite these words for all day long. But you do breathe all day long. Oh, look, you're not breathing during your meditation break, then you need to go to the doctor. So, hopefully, if we've trained effectively, we've created an association between noticing on the in-breath and relaxing on the out-breath. And with correct practice, what happens is there is a momentum we carry with us a momentum that is generated during the meditation session that propels us forward throughout the day, of just being more aware and letting go. Not using the words, but just associating those practices with the in-breath and the out-breath, respectively. I've often talked about Abraham Maslow was very famous for his hierarchy of needs. But he also described, let me write this down, not sure if I spelled Maslow right, that's probably better. Abraham Maslow also described the 4 phases of mastery. I'll write those out for you right now. So we have unconscious incompetence. Okay, that's basically just wandering around like Homer Simpson. Just completely not having a clue and not even knowing that you don't have a clue. Kind of like some politicians whose name I shall not utter. The second level is very similar. Conscious incompetence. You're still incompetent, but at least you know about it. And by being aware of our areas of vulnerability, it's actually easier to navigate life. Some people are blinded by hubris or pride or unfounded self-esteem, and they make some terrible decisions. Other people know where their strengths are, they know where their weaknesses are, and where there's weakness, they seek input. That's why it says even in the Hebrew scriptures, wisdom is found with many counselors. Now that takes us to number 3. That's huge. It's a subtle change once again. We go from conscious incompetence to conscious competence. Notice we're only changing like 1 syllable with each step. So conscious competence means you're not a complete idiot. You're able to navigate life, but it requires great effort. The 4th level is unconscious competence. You're still competent, but now it's effortless. Whatever task it is you set out to master, now you can practice it spontaneously, habitually, easily, and effectively. Buddha's path is paved with 3 things: mindfulness, insight, and love. The goal of the path is simply the mastery of those 3 things. So at this point in your life, you are consciously competent. You can practice it. You do it twice a day, every time you meditate. That's excellent. The next stage in your life is graduating from, the conscious practice of mindfulness, insight, mindfulness, insight, and love, to the automatic, the spontaneous, the habitual. That's the journey of mastery. And so whenever you catch yourself not being mindful, not being insightful, not being loving, that's not a failure. That's an opportunity to make a distinction and get better and better at the momentum of mastery. Could that make sense?
Yes, sometimes the difference of unconscious competence and the conscience, it's so small. I think.
Well, it's kind of funny. Once you look for it, you've lost it.
Okay.
So perhaps we can shed some insight on this by reviewing a concept from the Tao Te Ching. In the Tao Te Ching, we're told the three treasures of Lao Tzu are patience, compassion, and simplicity. And I've defined simplicity as a center point between two extremes. In one extreme, you have contrivance. On the other extreme, you have chaos. Neither are sustainable. The place where they overlap in the middle is centered spontaneity. Training ourselves in centered spontaneity is the key to graduating from conscious competence to unconscious competence. We have to give ourselves permission to fail. When we catch ourselves failing, we have to be vulnerable to whatever it is we feel. For the rate of our evolution is directly proportional to the profundity of our vulnerability. We can protect ourselves or we can evolve. We have to choose one because they are mutually exclusive. So do not beat yourself up, Olaf. It can be done. And so just the intention is I'm practicing the moment to create momentum. We'll see how far the momentum carries me throughout the day. That's why, although it's good to practice twice a day, sometimes men or women decide to go into retreat and they practice 4 times a day. During retreat, that retreat can last for 1 day, or sometimes for 2 days, or sometimes for 1 week, or sometimes for 1 month, or sometimes for 3 months, sometimes for a year, sometimes for 3 years, sometimes for a decade. But the vast reason why people can go on retreat is to create that momentum. Olaf, when you were a lad, did you play with a skateboard?
I had no skateboard.
Okay.
Actually.
How about a bicycle?
Yes, a lot.
Okay, so did you ever play with bicycles? So in your neighborhood, was there hills or was it flat?
It was most flat, some hills.
Great.
Flat.
So when you were on the flats, you could pedal really fast, and then you could stop pedaling and just coast. And at a certain point, you would either start pedaling again or you would tip over.
Yes.
So whenever you found yourself, your momentum slowing and your bike's getting wobbly, that's not a failure. That's just the bike signaling to you, metaphorically speaking, that it's time to pedal again. Likewise, after your morning meditation, you can go through your life with this momentum of centered spontaneity, and then it begins to waver. And it's like, oh, it's time for another practice. And that it can be a short little booster practice of maybe 5 minutes, or it can be a full hour or 2. So I hope that helps. I hope you find that useful.
Yes.
Now, while we're on the subject of momentum, I want to explore something somewhat controversial with you. I've mentioned it to you before. It's an answer to the question, after accomplishing enlightenment, why did the Buddha persist in a lifestyle of meditation and contemplation? The answer is karma and impermanence. Just as the karma of pedaling your bike creates the effect of momentum, that momentum is undermined by impermanence, by change, by time. And so just as someone riding a bike who wishes to remain on the bike and not fall on his tushy, just as that person would intermittently return to pedaling throughout the journey, likewise a contemplative continually returns to meditation frequently and regularly, regardless of how advanced they are. For instance, Olaf, if you ate a delicious meal on Sunday, you'd probably eat another meal or several on Monday.
Yes.
You would say, well, I had an awesome meal. I'd never have to eat again. Of course you wouldn't do that. You eat every day, maybe a few times a day. Most people do. Nothing wrong with that. But just as we eat every day, just as we go to the toilet every day, just as we sleep every day, just as we breathe every day, it should not surprise us that to maintain our achievements, no less accomplish them in the first place, we must perform consistent, regular behavior. For instance, Olaf, let's pretend you were a bodybuilder. Well, you'd have to hit the gym every week. And if you skipped a week, or 4, or 8, or 50, you would probably not look the same. And that wouldn't shock you. You'd be like, well, okay, I'm a bodybuilder. I have to hit the gym regularly or I won't look like a bodybuilder anymore. Same thing with meditation. Same thing with breathing. For instance, if you stop breathing, you will no longer be a living human being. You'll be a smelly corpse. So it's the same with meditation. We're generating momentum. We're enjoying the momentum, and then we regenerate the momentum, and then we enjoy the momentum. Like a kid on a bike, pedaling and coasting, then pedaling and coasting, then pedaling and coasting. Now you might say, wait, Lama Jigme, that kid sounds lazy. He should pedal, pedal, pedal all the time, never stop pedaling, pedal, pedal, pedal. He'll get tired. And so it can be argued that pedaling and coasting might be more sustainable than just pedaling. Likewise, it's irrational to expect to have the physical and mental strength to meditate for 16 hours straight every day. You can't. You can't do anything for 16 hours a day other than breathe. You can't. So just as one cannot comfortably, the average person cannot comfortably pedal for 16 hours a day, likewise a contemplative cannot sit in meditation for 16 hours a day. They have formal sessions and then they relax, and they do formal sessions and then they relax. And that can relax and can be, recreation, it could be entertainment, it can be doing chores, it can be doing errands. Just because we're in the world doesn't mean we have to be fearful, competitive, aggressive, greedy. We don't have to. We can go through life full of mindfulness and insight and love. I hope that makes sense.
Yes.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop the recording for a second because I think this is a perfectly good standalone class. And I'm going to stop the recording. I'm going to try to stop the recording. Let's see. Let's go over here and hit stop recording.